Musketeers, salute! One for all for one!
The timelessness of the Musketeers is a marvel. And I believe it has to do with a kind of extraordinary character that we all wish we had and that we all aspire to. I'll tell you a little story that happened at the very end of the whole actual active period of making the movie. The very last thing you do when you're exhausted from everything else is you go out and you do press junkets and you have interviews. My final interview I ended up doing alone, and it was with a journalist in Japan. And I had this fantastic interpreter whom I never met in person, but she did that simultaneous translation. The last question was, why do you do stories about honor and sacrifice and love? And I thought for a moment, no one had asked me anything of the sort. So here's this question coming from Japan about that. And I said, well, I suppose it's because I believe that the second greatest wealth any man can have is to have someone in his life who would die for him. But the greatest wealth you can have is someone in your life that you would die for. And then I heard him say, and she laughed and said, he says that you are a samurai, and when you come to Tokyo, he wants to get drunk with you. And I thought, this is a perfect example of why this is a story to tell, and why I feel good about having told this story in affirming the values of these guys who have people in their lives who would die for them and for whom they would die.
This is the death I have always wanted. All for one. One.
You know, it's really difficult to judge a sense of, a question of how good is a film. But I can tell you that I succumb to the sin of pride about it, because I love the film. I love what people did in it. I love getting letters to this day from people, mostly young people, who say they love the film. I've gotten letters from mothers who tell me that they watch it with their kids. They like the values in it. When I think of Man in the Iron Mask, the first thing that flashes into the pit of my stomach is a kind of gratitude and thrill of the heroes of our business who stepped up and believed in an absolutely untried guy who was about to direct his first film. That guys like John Malkovich and Gabriel Byrne and Leonardo DiCaprio, and the first one to say yes was Gerard Depardieu. And the thrill that I got when guys of that stature looked me in the eye and said, oh, I'd love to be in this. That's what has stayed with me.